So we're gonna start, right?
Yes.
So we will start. Welcome to the CCAMP session here in IETF 121. As usual, the latest IETFs we are meeting on Friday. So this simplified introduction, introductory slides, because probably you all are familiar with all the processes. Today, part of the CCAMP session is also an important day because it's the birthday of Daniele. So let's congrats Daniele, or maybe we can clap.
Then you pay, yeah.
I think it's a good idea. Yes.
He doesn't have to pay the 60. No, the gift was a shorter agenda. I'll give you 30
Yes.
minutes back.
Okay, so let's go for that. So this is the note well. So as usual, please read it with care. This note well declares the principles of how the meeting should be run. So the courtesy and the nice discussion and avoiding personal issues and problems. Also the IPR concerns and basically how to run the meetings. So you have the list of best common practices, so please get familiar with them. Moving forward, just insisting on the conduct guidelines. So have the necessary courtesy for the discussions, keep the discussions on the technical side, and yeah, be prepared for contributing and basically being positive contributions to the working group. The session is being recorded. Keep your audio and video off unless you have to basically to participate in presenting or either in the questions in the queue. And yeah, I'm sure you are familiar with all the Miteco details, so I think probably we can skip this or go fast on this. But please enter in the Miteco because it's somehow the way of registering the participation. So don't forget to do so. We have some notes, some space for taking notes. So any volunteer will be more than welcome. So please help us on or keep track of all the discussions. So this is important for later on, having the reference and the history of what was discussed at all. The reminder of IPR process for whatever draft that you are presenting here, in case of being adopted, there will be a polling for the authors and contributors regarding the IPR. So if you have already knowledge of some patents or so, please declare them according to also to the rules in IETF. The session is one. We have only one session in this IETF meeting. We have, surprisingly, in contrast with the last meetings, we have plenty of time today for discussion, so we can take profit of that or save some time, as Daniel said. The agenda is the one that you can see there. We will cover 2 adopted drafts and some individual drafts. As said, we have 30 minutes for discussion if needed. As a reminder, please use the mailing list. It's the vehicle for sharing ideas, concerns, discussions, and also for getting the consensus. There would be, because we have a number of weekly calls or bi-weekly calls, it's also it would be recommended to have time to time some summary of those calls so that all the participants in the working group but not participating in the calls can be aware of what are the discussions. And for sure, I said the open issues, new drafts, and potential new work items. We try to schedule the agenda according to the discussions in the mailing list. So this is also an incentive for using the mailing list. So for future meetings, the idea is to schedule in regards of the discussions seen in the mailing list. The APR process, we already commented on this, so I will pass quickly and then I hand over to Daniel.
And they play with your PC.
Yeah.
So a quick update. Thank you. A quick update on the status of the working group. We have recently published a new RFC, which is the young data model for microwave topology. For some reasons, we are super fast with the microwave compared with optical and OTN. We have 2 drafts in the editor queue. the layer 1 types and L1 CSM. They have been, if you look at the data tracker, they've been there for quite some time. The reason is that they are pending on the publication of a couple of documents in TISE, if I'm not mistaken. So once those documents are published, these will proceed. We have one in the SG processing, which is the OTN topology. So I think we can consider the most of the topology work in a good shape, because the optical topology is an RFC, the OTN topology is almost there, and you will see in the next slides that we are also getting there with the optical impairment aware topology. Speaking about the optical impairment topology, here there is some information that we wanted to share with you. So the level of maturity of the draft is pretty good. It's possible to expose information of the network with a very detailed view. But what is the issue here? Basically, this is the classical draft that you can expand forever. We decided to put a stop, to say, is this to ask our service the question: is this good enough to be moved forward, to have an impact on the industry, or not? And we tried to understand what are the use cases that can be covered today, and the ones that are missing. Basically, all the use cases can be supported under the assumption that optical compatibility is implied, also on the client side. What does it mean? This means that with the document as is today, it is possible to manage networks with homogeneous Mach sponders. We have the limitation of interoperability between the Mach sponders of different versions, so they need to be homogeneous. And there is no control nor visibility at which layer regeneration is performed. Example, audio level, OTU level, and so on. So we believe that these are acceptable limitations. The draft is in a good enough state to be moved forward. We started the IPR polling, and we will ask this question during the working group last call. If anyone believes that the draft is not ready, that there are that it's not acceptable to move it forward with these limitations, please go to the mic, raise your issue on the mailing list, but we would like to hear it to hear about it as soon as possible. It can be a working group last call comment. It can be done before that, but we would like to hear if anyone has concerns about it. There is another thing related to the optical impairment topology draft. We would like to have this reviewed by ITU. There are two options. The classical one, the liaison, which takes quite some time, given that we are pretty close to the working group last call. This is not exactly the option that we would like to follow. There is another one, which is to present this draft at the ITU interim meeting, which is in December. We heard that Italo is participating, so he volunteered to present the draft at the ITO interim meeting. Or there are also the cross STO virtual meetings that Scott is handling. The next ones will be in December, in January, so that would be another opportunity to present the draft to ITU, get feedbacks, and possibly handle those feedbacks as part of the working group last call. So this is again If you believe that this is not good enough, that we need the full liaison and so on and so forth, please shout. As I said, the APR polling has already started, and Aumian, which is deeply involved in ITUT work, has volunteered to be the shepherd of the document. So in Italy, we say we are in an iron barrel. Document status. We have two documents being presented today, the WDM interface parameter Young and the WDM tunnel Young. We also asked the authors to provide some feedbacks on the ones that are not presented. There has been no major update on the OTN slicing document. The next step indicated by the authors is to resolve the dependency from the TIS transport netto slice Young model in the TIS working group, which will soon be pulled for adoption. On the other side, on the Ethernet client T topology Young model, we don't have any update, but here many next steps as foreseen, which is alignment with the packet T topology, alignment with the other topology models for the support of multi-layer single instance topology, align with updates to the client model, and then complete the model description. So some more work is needed on this one. This is the other list of working group documents which don't have significant, for which we didn't receive any significant update. I see Julian in the queue.
Yes, Julian Maric, just to give you feedback on the transceiver mode signaling which expired. I was aware of this expiration date. I was waiting for the update on the WDM interface, which is today on the agenda. The idea is to stick to that one and keep consistency and update this document accordingly. And the good news is that I also had some contact with a couple of working group members who were eager to contribute to that document. So the good news is that even if it's expired, it won't remain expired for long, and we will submit a new version far before next IETF meeting, hopefully.
It's the new definition of soon. It's far before the next IETF meeting. Liaisons. Oscar in the queue.
We have the pluggable documents. I don't think you put it in the list of documents, working group documents that.
You're right.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
If you wanted to give an update
Yes,
now,
not just, because we are going to publish a new version soon. We have a pending comment from the adoption poll, and that it was to from Gerd in the list that we should not restrict the draft to coherent pluggables. So we wanted to be generic. So we are thinking in changing the title from coherent to programmable. Okay, so that is even we will also put it in the list.
So you accepted the comment. You're not
no,
focusing only on
we
coherent
didn't have
ones.
any, let's say, I mean, even though coherent is the technology that is now, let's say, more widely used, I mean, in principle, is not restricted to be coherent. I mean, if there is a technology that does it, it should be fine as long as the important thing is it's programmable. So
yeah,
so which is okay. And then some minor updates on use cases. Okay, so but the plan is to be able to, let's say, not to take too much time with the document and try to close it and then focus on the other document.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't see you in the queue. Please.
Two comments. One on the ITUT meeting. I'm okay to do the contribution, but maybe it will be worthwhile considering joining the coordination call in December, such that if people has feedback, it's better that everybody is on the call and discuss the comments.
Okay, so maybe
Otherwise-
we can advertise it on the mailing list and ask
Exactly.
the authors to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And second comment, I think is missing also FlexiGrid topology model, which is also ready for working group. Last call was pending 1993 EV's completion. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, when I prepared the slides, I meant to discuss it together with the optical impairment. So that's why it's not in that list. Thanks. I'm getting older. Liaison statements. We have a bunch of liaisons since the last meeting. Most of them are for information, so don't require a reply, and they are sent to not just to CCAMP, but some of them on the for example, the data modeling coordination was sent to IETF and some other working groups. So for the ones that a reply is required, we are working together with the chairs of the other working groups to send a coordinated answer. If you wanted to discuss, contribute, etc., here you can find the links of all the liaisons. So absolutely feel free to contribute. Yeah, I see you in the queue.
Yes, this is Yi from Huawei, France. So regarding to the first liaison, I think this one is about the requirements for the control plan for FGOTN. And we actually had a draft about the FGOTN control analysis. So I think the draft will be fixed for these requirements. I will present it later on in today's meeting. So just for your information.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Periodic calls, as anticipated by Luis, we have plenty of them. They are advertised on the mailing list, so probably you get your calendar full of invitations. And another thing that we wanted to share with you is that we already said it on the mailing list, but worth repeating. We will not meet in Bangkok in IETF 122 because unfortunately in that week we have an overlap with a meeting from the study group 15 and a lot of CCAMP members will be there. So we will replace that face-to-face meeting with 2 interim meetings. One before, one after IETF 122. The first one will be mostly focused on pluggables and optical documents. The second one on OTN documents. We will follow the classical process. So we will send out 1 week before the call for slots. We will have a classical presentation. So in the end, it will be like a normal meeting. As slots, we picked the ones that are already allocated to weekly slots to maximize the participation. So hopefully those are slots that work for most of the people. And that's it. And we have done in the queue. He's already laughing. He's going to say something.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's terrible. That's assumption.
We know you, Dan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Dan. What was I going to say now? Ah, yes. I had complaints. Can you believe that this week about CCAMP, specifically the mailing list? And there are a few people who aren't necessarily subscribers to the list, but will occasionally sort of drop in and have a look. And they're complaining about the number of notifications that are being sent to the list. Specifically, I think the prime culprit actually is the GitHub. And I filter those in my cloud server anyway, so it never really bothers me. But I looked this morning, and there are hundreds and hundreds of notifications.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering if the users, and I'm guilty as well, of the various GitHubs might want to update the severity or the informational messaging that's sent to the GitHub alias, because there are things, there are several scripts that are run. When you would create an issue, that's one thing. It's maybe useful for a notification to be sent to the list, but when it's just doing a backup overnight or something, or you're compiling something, those notifications don't need to be sent to the list.
Yeah. Good point. Okay, ready for the first presentation, which is Gabriele.
Okay. Morning, this is Gabriele speaking, and just want to give you an overview on the interface YAN documents. So the document has not been changed since the last IETF, and the changes that report now are basically on the parameters that are related to the effect thresholds and the TCA. We modified all the parameters that has been changed in the optical impairment topology Young and 1993 bis, so that you can see the three documents using the same terminology, the same wording, the same syntax, and so on. And then we have fixed some Young models errors. So basically, as I said, the document is complementing the optical impairment topology Young and is referring the 1993 bis definitions and is completely aligned as per today. No change since, as I said, from the last IETF meeting. So the next step, number one, we should submit to the young doctors to have a deep review in terms of formally correctness of the models and so on. And then we think the document should follow the fate of the impairment topology Young and also 1993 bis. After we have the review from young doctors and we fix typos and so on, I think it could be ready for the last call.
I was wondering if it's probably a good idea to include also this draft in the review that we will request to ITU. So it's not the optical impairment topology only, but also this one.
Yes, that could be a good idea. Excellent idea. Yes.
Given that the state is pretty stable and we are not far from working group plus call also here.
Yeah.
Probably we can bundle all the three together and ask
that will be a technical review actually from my two team.
Yeah,
that's good. Thanks.
Ayo.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gabriele, I just wonder if the status of this document would be affected by possible gaps that we may identify during the pluggable gap analysis. So how are we going to deal with this?
There could be some additional parameters that we'll identify in the pluggable discussion. And then we'll see if we are in time to add those parameters. We'll do that before the last call. If not, there will be a new version, I think.
Okay.
In any case, the document is focused on the optical parameters, is not focused on the pluggable management itself. So it's pure, let me say, describing the optical interface. No, and all the other item for the pluggable we'll see later with Reza.
And probably if we find the gaps, so we can address them in the optical pluggables document.
This is, we see Reza later.
Sergio Velotti from Nokia. I personally reviewed the draft and I confirm that from Young perspective, there is a perfect alignment with 1993 bis and optical impairments. There is again some problem in the part of the text that should be realigned. And well, if you want, I can help you to.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Super easy.
Done. Thanks a lot.
Next one. There are more authors than the people in the room.
Right. Hi, everyone. This is Iwa from Futurity, and I'm presenting this a brief update to this model on behalf of the co-authors and contributors. So for this draft, we have updates only primarily in the YAM data models, and there's no update on the draft text, which needs to be done in the next revision. Regarding the YAM model updates, the change is primarily about updating the transceiver modeling to align with the definition in the optical impairment topology, and particularly in the reference to a region group, and also along with that, we adjusted the container definition for source and destination and region transceivers along a possible WDM path. And in there, the region group ID is referenced. So this is a bit small text, but you could see the main structure of the model is now separating the source and destination and transit, whereas on the transit node you would possibly have a region, and so the region transceiver would have an incoming transceiver and outgoing transceiver, and the region group ID is listed on the top container, within the top container of the region transceiver. So there are a bunch of open issues. As I said before, the draft text needs some further refinement to especially to describe how the WDM tunnel provisioning and maintenance should be carried with the model. And also there are some inconsistencies, I think, that I just discovered before this talk. There needs to be aligned with the YAM model changes. There's also some ongoing discussion about the layer 0, layer 1 boundary. So it turned out that we may need some additional parameters to describe, for example, the type of digital termination for client signals, and also the multiplex types to support the basically the interoperability between different types of expanders. And some also parameters to identify the level of a region if the tunnel is choosing a region configuration, because today we have always there's no way to say like at which level of region should this tunnel go through. It's always the default, right? But with that parameter, we should be able to identify by user what level of region that the WDM tunnel should use to go through a regenerator. And last one is there are also gap analysis ongoing on the pluggables modeling. That might or might not, that might lead to some additional parameters included in the WDM tunnel. So we'll I guess unlike optical impairment and 99.3 bis, this model still needs some refinement. So we should have some good time to incorporate the gaps if identified. Okay. So the next steps is to address the open issues, and also there's there's another draft for WDM path computation, which reuses the same grouping as the WDM tunnel. So we need to align those two drafts and then look for feedbacks from the working group. And we, as Chair indicated, we have the weekly meeting for FlexGrid, and we use that to discuss both the FlexGrid as well as this document. Okay. That's it.
Thank you.
Questions, comments, welcome. All right, that's good.
Good morning. My name is Reza Rokui from Siena. On behalf of authors and contributors, I'm going to go through the changes that happens on model and gap analysis for the pluggables. Before going through the presentation, just a background for those who didn't attend the 2 meetings that we had this week. We started with a side meeting. We went through lots of discussions. After that, we had a meeting with all co-authors and contributors who were present here. We went through a long discussion, what we want to do, what the plan is, and the presentation that you see here is outcome of that discussion. All the authors, all the contributors who were here fully aware of this, is 100% agreed upon, and this is the something that it's important to notice that whatever I show here is basically contribution of all those who were here, and we went through this one to make sure that we are capturing everything in the context of the overall CCAMP working groups, existing documentation, and potentially the changes that needs to be done. So with that summary, this is basically one slide which summarizes where we are today, and the rest of the presentation is basically describing these items. I start from the top. The whole idea of the pluggable that we do is to support the operators' use cases that is driven by Oscar and other operators. So they are introducing a group of use cases. They are introducing right now, in the future might be new use cases. And the whole idea is to support those use cases, what should be from the coherent pluggable use cases, from the coherent pluggable data model to support that. So keep that one in mind all the times, that whatever you see here, there should be related to the use cases that we will see. So any use case that we have, we should be able to support it. And this is the idea that we go through it, is implicitly distributed throughout the work that we do, but it's very important aspect. Through that, number one, we wanted to be inclusive of all the working that is happening right now in industry for the pluggables. We went through IETF documents, obviously, we started with that. But we didn't stop there. We said that let's go through OpenConfig, ITUT, OIF, and other standardization body authority who has something with the pluggables. And we created a Google Sheet, and we have a weekly meeting. We went through that. So these are the attributes from the pluggable in 3 areas. Capability, which are read-only capability of the pluggables. Configuration, read-write, obviously. And last but not least, PM and states. So these are the 3 areas of the Google Sheet. You will, if anybody is interested, there is a link in the one of the slides that you can contribute to that and participate on that. So after finishing that, you will see this is an important aspect that we have to address. The next one, number 2, gap analysis. It mentioned Gabriele and Iowa in their respective draft that there is a gap analysis here. And the gap analysis means that we identify, number one, that there are a bunch of attributes that we have to do in 3 areas. Gap analysis. Do we have it in existing IETF drafts? Yes, no. And after that, we make a decision what to do. And that decision is number 3. During that gap analysis and finishing the gap analysis, we find out if there is any attribute missing. If the answer is yes, how we are going to address it. And the whole idea is we start with existing IETF draft, IETF young models that we have, and accordingly update that, augment that, doing the Bs. This is something that we have to do. It's still in number 1, but this is the plan that we want to do. And last but not least, number 4. Number 3 is only semantics. And number 4 is the same thing in terms of the syntax as well. You know, what syntax we have to use for that. So this is basically the overall objective of this work. At the end of the day, when everything is done, we will have the attributes, characteristics of the pluggable in capability, configuration, PM states, which are augmented or updated in various IETF draft that we have. So with that one, the rest of the presentation, it goes through some of the detail of these 4 areas that I just mentioned. Starting with the overall changes that happen. I already mentioned it implicitly. I'm going to skip this one. This is just for your reference. But the idea is for those areas that I mentioned, the draft number, the release that we had basically is describing those changes that happening in the draft. And the item number 6 is we had a few more contributors which are added there. But you will see the detail of this slide as I go through it. Instead of talking about it here, I will go through it here. So starting with the Google Sheet. So we have weekly meeting to go through capability, read-only attributes, configuration, read-write, and PM read-only attributes. As I said, all these attributes coming from IETF, ITUT, OpenConfig, and OIF, and other authority who are defining attributes. We want to be inclusive of all those. We don't want to limit ourselves, because if there is something, somebody else already done the job and it's good, we have to adopt that. We have to accept that. And the idea for the next step is just finish that Google Sheet. We have started with the capability area. We are in the middle of that, almost at the end. We have to finish that one very soon. As you will see, this is the kind of the first step for everything else that we want to do. And for your reference, the online Google Sheet is there. If you are interested to be part of it, either actively or proactively, just send in the request, and you are more than welcome to be part of that activity. And we are encouraging everyone to actually come and take a look from different angles, from different vantage points, to make sure the work that we do is complete. We don't want to miss out anything, and it is important we have contribution of operators and vendors, both from the different aspect of that. When we done that again, there is an urgency that we feel that, and based on what Oscar mentioned, they have the use cases document. They are going to finalize it very soon. We need to finish that, and we want to be pragmatic, at the same time realistic. So the Google Sheet that we work on, we can spend 2 years to go through all the attributes. It's never perfect. And this is the whole idea. We want to finish the first round, and there is a room for improvement all the time. We accept that one, but we want to finish the one that is good enough and go to the gap analysis. In the gap analysis, as Gabrielle and others mentioned, we want to make sure that whatever we find out from the attributes is already addressed at IETF, yes or no. If the answer is no, we have to go through some the variation of that. Is there anything missing from IETF draft, or is there anything different between IETF draft and other SDOs? Maybe these are the 2 things that we have to address that one. And the outcome of this one is that basically we identify those. This is still work in progress, as I mentioned, is after finishing the Google Sheet. The outcome of this one goes to the next round. Next round, before going there, in the context of the attribute that we are referring, there are some specific attributes which are here. I call it vendor specific, but Suomi had a very good suggestion yesterday. We will call this one opaque attribute, something that not everybody supports. This is work in progress. After that, I put here for a further study. If you are interested to see what it means, go to the draft. There is a good reason what it means and why we have it. But since this is for future study, I'm going to skip that one for a moment and go to the steps that we want to do and what are the next steps. The first one is finish the Google Sheet. I repeat that one a few times because it's very important aspect. Number two, do the gap analysis to make sure that we identify gap in 3 areas: capability, config, PM, attributes. And number 3, address them through the mechanism that I just mentioned, through augmentation Bs or update of the existing models. And last but not least, number 4, we are going to, as we agreed upon between everybody, as I mentioned, we have various meetings, we are going to consider all those things, issue number draft version 2 with some of the things that we might not be 100% clear. We put it clearly that these are still in progress. And the idea here is we go with the adoption, after finishing number 2. And this is a good starting point for Dan to provide his comments.
Yeah, Daniel King just wants to make sure you were finished on the slide, so sorry.
Yeah, so that is done.
Bit early. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for presenting an update from the Pluggables working group. The kind of the issue, the slight issue that I have is that I want to read what you guys are talking about. And the Google Sheet, the mythical Google Sheet, sounds like a really interesting document. And I'm sure I could find it if I was digging for it. So I just did a quick search on sort of the pluggable documents, and I found 2 documents. I found a use case document from operators. That's we just call that Oscar's document. And then I found a more of a sort of technical document. I think that's your document. So those are the 2 documents. So when you say we're going to look for working group adoption, is it a merge of these 2 documents? Is it your document or is it a new document? That's the first
one. 2 separate documents, different life cycle for each one. There is no measure. Very clearly, when we did this one intentionally, there are operator-driven use cases. Clearly, they say, these are my use cases. Give me the artifact that I can support that. And our document says, based on that, now what we have to do. So the separate document, separate life cycle, no measure for that.
So we've got Oscars is the informational kind of here's my problem, here's my requirements in the use case, and then there's this other document, your document currently, because there's only a few authors listed on that. I presume that there's going to be more authors and a big contributor list.
I have to say which one.
Okay. Anyway.
But the former, all the operators are the author. The latter case, all the vendors.
Yeah.
Contribution is mix and match, but again, we did this intentional to make sure that we are doing the logical separation between these 2.
Because that last bullet there, if you, at least to me, if I want to vote on whether to adopt a document, I need to be able to read it, and I need the time to kind of assimilate the information, because there's clearly there are a lot of technical aspects that are being discussed and highlighted in that Google document. So it sounds like there's going to be quite a big update, or not. I mean,
yeah. So but the state of version 1 is good enough to give you and to give everybody a very good context of what we have.
Yeah. And are you planning to move the content from the Google Sheet into this new document as well?
Good point, and this was raised before. What is the best way to incorporate quote unquote Google Sheet info into the document? I don't think we have a specific way of doing it. It's a big a sheet of information, but we will find a way to do it. But at this point, just consider the Google Sheet as the framework that we want to work on, and this draft is supporting all the information, all the thing around it. How we are going to put them together? Is there a GitHub that we put that one a reference to it, or there is something? Again, I'm open to any suggestion that you have that might be practical.
Thank you, because we've only just managed to convince Adrian that GitHub is actually maybe a useful tool for the IETF, right? I mean,
and he's saying that he not.
And if we start saying, well, actually, this Google Sheet, which isn't accessible from everywhere in the world, by the way, there are some restrictions there. Then we're just expanding the tools. And I'm not saying we shouldn't use it. I'm just saying it should be a consideration.
But again, we started intentionally with the Google Sheet to just working on that one right now. When we reach to maturity, all the questions and the concern you have, we had it. Actually, I have it as well. But how to address that, to me, is a minor. We can figure out a way to do it, but let's work on those things which are very important to make sure the content is okay. Where to put it there, is a repository, the public or private or IETF SharePoint somewhere. It definitely valid points, but it's not the main concern at this time.
Yeah. Okay. No, thanks, guys. I think it's great work, really useful, and looking forward to reading.
Okay. Thank you for everyone. This is a big contribution for everybody from the CCAMP group, and I really want to acknowledge everybody's approach here. Thanks.
Just a clarification. These are the two documents that we decided to work on. If you do a search on CCAMP pluggables, you probably get 7-8 documents. All of them are either expired, the part that will be revived in the future, and so on and so forth. These are just the two documents that we decided to work on.
Any other
you might end up in other documents. For the moment, we are not focusing on.
Yeah, definitely the answer is yes. I didn't want to go talk about those, but let's focus on these two which are active, and after that we build on top of that going on. Okay.
Yeah, Huawei. Yeah, actually, thanks for the work. And so far, I didn't see the Young model, but I read the Google Sheet, and it gives already very comprehensive parameter attributes checklist, very useful. And I also appreciate the reference to existing existing data models. So personally, I'm struggling on how to measure the relationship among data models. So we already have, as in earlier presentation, clustered the 1993 BIS, the impairments, the interface parameters, and maybe the flex grid topology almost together without consider too much about the pluggable itself. But as Daniel said, these are just the two documents we decided to work on the pluggable. But on the other hand, we are trying our best to reuse what has been specified. So how to manage the progressing, it will be very important. And I would be more than happy to see a picture or a flow chart describing how the pluggable is dependent on the other models, like the types, like the WDM models or others.
Yeah, so there is a good suggestion for the second one, gap analysis. When we do that, and we said, so we are going to consider whatever you just said. But at this point, I want to finish the Google Sheet as fast as we can.
Sure.
Go through that, and after coming with all those good ideas, definitely it's something that can be considered.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Reza. So, next one. So, Jamshia.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. This is Yanxia from China Unicom. I'm glad to present this job on behalf of World Record authors. This job we defended two young data model for fine-grained OTN. And this young data model can be used on the loss band of the domain controller. Next slide. At first, we would like to represent the intention or motivation of this job. Firstly, we all know that FGTN is a very quick new technology and it increased the usage of our OTN industry. And currently, the GDO 709 was published this year in April. The fine-grained OTN is introduced for the efficient transmission of low-rate client signals. And also, in last IETF meeting, we also present a job which is about GNPLS capability for FGOTN. And we found that for our current work on the domain controller's lossband, the lossband interface is of FGOTN is still missing in IETF. So this draft will focus on this missing point. And the third motivation is that when we are discussing FGOTN, we would like to harmonize with the existing works, including the topology and the tunnel model. So to harmonize with the current young data model we have defended in CCAMP, we propose to define young data models augmenting the existing topology and tunnel model for FGOTN. So actually, this draft had presented last meeting, and the main changes from 00 to 01 is that we added 3 scenarios for FGOTN. And the first one is retrieve service tunnel. And the second one is protection scenarios. And the third one is hitless resizing. And we added the theme from CICT as co-authors. Next slide. As young data model we have defined it in CCAMP, we consider two main data model. One is FGOTN topology, and the other one is FGOTN tunnel. As ITUT suggests, FGOTN should be a new audio type. So we will like to do the extension based on the current TE model and OTN models. Next slide. So what have been extended on in the OTN topology? At first, we don't like to define a new network layer for FGOTN because it is the same layer of OTN type. So we would like to define a new audio type, a new identity for FGOTN, and we use the OTN topology to provide the information of FGOTN. Also, we have some requirements from the operator. They would like to filter the termination points which can support FGOTN. So we define a Boolean value supported FGOTN TP to indicate whether the TP can support FGOTN. And also, we have some bandwidth augmentation, including the maximum bandwidth and the unreserved bandwidth. If a link can support OTN switching and FG OTN switching at the same time, we need to lower the maximum bandwidth allocated for different switching. Next slide. The augmented FGOTN list sector is used to describe the unreserved TE bandwidth of FGOTN in the server audio key. And in the old OTN topology model, we have a lot of extension on the label restriction. So here, we also define the FGOTN label enable specific information to describe the availability of FGOTN time slot in the server of the UK. Next slide. For the tunnel model, we define a new layer of FGOTN tunnel, just like the relationship with the low order ODOK and the high order ODOK. So for FGOTN tunnel, there will be a more known layer of ODOK, and there will be some supporting relationship with the current OTN model. And we also augment the bandwidth for FGOTN tunnel to indicate the bandwidth information. And for the neighbor restriction, it is similar to the extension in the OTN tunnel model. We will do some extension on the neighbor hop, including the explicit root objects included or excluded by the path computation of the primary path and the secondary path. And we also augment the T neighbor hop for the LSP information. And next slide. The typical scenarios for FGOTN is to provide no bitrate private line or private network service for consumers. We listed 3 scenarios that requires special consideration for FGOTN. The first one is the scenarios to retrieve service tunnels. We know some small bandwidth FGOTN services are aggregated by the access ring and then aggregated into a big bandwidth in meter ring. The allocation of TS may be different in access ring and meter ring. In these scenarios, the service layer may consist of multi-segment tunnels, and we need to retrieve the bandwidth of the server layer tunnel. Next slide. And next is protection scenarios. We will learn that the protection of FGOTN service should rely on the protection of FGOTN tunnel. For a management view, we hope the server can provide for the hops of FGOTN tunnel. Next slide. And the third one is headless resetting scenario. During the headless resetting process, the range of FGOTN service bandwidth on demand cannot access its server layer's bandwidth. And the client needs to know how many bandwidth of a link is allocated for FGOTN. Next slide. For the next step, we will conduct more research on the FGOTN models and scenarios. And we will also evaluate how to add new identities for encoding and switching capabilities based on the consideration that T-types model have been in CCAMP working group. If you are interested on these jobs, welcome to contact with us. Okay, and thank you. That's for the presentation today.
Thank you, Yanxia. Any question for Yanxia? No? Okay.
I just have a practical question, which is I saw that you have the topology and the tunnel models together. I don't know. We usually tend to split them and do the topology and the tunnel together, but I mean, this is completely up to you to decide how to proceed, how it works best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Javier.
Wait.
Yeah, trying to help a little bit and answer the question. Actually, if I understand from correctly, the augmentation of the topology and tunnel from the FGOTN perspective is rather light. So it's just different clips in the single draft. We don't want to probably manage too many drafts.
I know it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
This is Chao De. Actually, currently we had a bi-weekly meeting in every Wednesday, and I'm saying probably we made some mistake. And if any people would like to join the discussion, and please let me know. And I would like to ask Luis and or Danielle how to schedule a new meeting if if the time zone is not so good for all the people. Okay, and also I also need to want to clarify that the scenario presented by Yanxia, it is also supporting the attributes discussion in the previous slide, and currently we have recognized 3 scenarios which have been presented by Yanxia, including the how to describe the bandwidth on the link, which both supported by the by OTN switching and FGOTN switching. And also we recognize some operator would like to provide the path when there could be different switching capability of nodes in the LSP. And also we would like to clarify the range of the FGOTN service BOD scenario. And I think that all the attributes have been described in the models which is presented. Okay.
Thank you, Charlie.
The first engineer that says we make mistakes. I appreciate that.
Okay, Jilin, are you there?
Yes. So thank you, Chair. So this is it, and I present for the draft about the applicability of both GMPRs and PCEP for the FGOTN. So this is more about the control plane of the FGOTN, comparing with the previous draft, which was more about the management and control, the northbound interface of FGOTN. So the authors are from Huawei and China Mobile, CTTC, and also China Unicom. So I will present it on behalf of all the authors. So next page, please. So the main idea of this draft is about actually we know the FGOTN in ITOT has been published. So we want to have analysis on the applicability of using both the GMPRS and also the PSAP for the control of the FGOTN, and which include connection control, service control, and also the routing considerations. So the main change from the version 01 to 02 is in this version we add the reference to the ETSI FRG 018. So just we see the liaison from them. So we refer to this document to see and based on the requirements of this document to analyze the requirements on the control plane. And the second one is that we are happy to have Yanxia from China Unicom to become a new co-author to this draft. And thank you for her help on the review of the document. Next one, please. So this page shares some information on how different standard organizations are cooperate with on the FGOTN control. So in the left-hand side, it is the ETSI and the OCN architecture. So this document has been published recently, and in this document, it provides the overall architecture which use the OTN technology to carry the high quality cloud services. And in this architecture, you can see the data plane. They use the OTN, including the FGOTN, as the data plane for the cloud service. And in the control plane, the OSP, the optical service protocols, are introduced to control the FGOTN network to carry this kind of cloud services. So that's the main architecture from the XG OCN architecture. And on the right-hand side, for the data plane, we know that in ITOT, they already published the FGOTN standards, including the G.709.20 and also the G.709 Amendment 3. And in IETF, so we know that the SG has already sent the liaison to IETF including the CCAMP, PC, and TIS working group. So I think this draft can perfectly fix for the requirements from the OCN architecture. So that's the relationship between these different standard organizations. So next one, please. And this one jumping in a little bit into the detail for the OCN and also the OSP protocols. So in the XC document, the OSP protocols include two functions. One is the service control and the other is the connection control. So for the service control, the main idea is to how to help the edge node of the OTN to identify different service destinations and then map different service traffic into different OTN connections. So this requires the OE, the optical edge node, to know the destination information of the service and to know which destination service destination is connected to which OTN edge node. So it needs a kind of mapping tables for the optical edge node. So protocols are required is required to help the edge node to learn this service information. So in our draft, in the right hand side, in section 4 of the document of the draft, we actually describe the service control consideration, which I think is a similar, provide a similar functions to the OCN OSP in the left hand side. And in the previous version, we already have a discussion on which protocols to be used to help this kind of service address learning, and we feel that the PSAP protocol would be the better one to be used here. And in the bottom, the second one for the OSP connection control. So the requirements include the connection creation, language modification, connection deletion, and also connection recovery. So in section 5 of this draft, it also described the requirements of the connection control and also the applicability of traditional GMPS on the connection control. So again, I think it fixed for the requirements from the OSP from HC. Next one, please. So for the next step, I think further cooperation between different standard organizations are needed to develop these FGOTN control plane protocols in IETF. So we may, for example, we may reply to the liaison from XC to have more to share more information on our progress and have more discussion on the future requirements and protocol design. And for the draft here, we so actually this draft is more about the analysis on existing protocol to be used for the FGOTN control. And as the next step, we think we can start working on the detailed protocol design for the FGOTN control. And anyone who are interested in this topic could join this discussion together and to develop these protocols. So comments are always welcome. And any questions or comments here?
So thank you, Yilin. Any comment? There's no one in the queue. Okay, no comment from our side. Thank you, Yilin.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, good morning. My name is Binyoung Yoon from Etri. Today, I'll present the young data model of performance management streaming. Okay, background. IETF JITA 7710 is the functional frameworks for the managing the transport network element with the FCAPs. It addresses the requirements and the types of parameter and the measurement method for the performance management. To support the PM streaming, various IETF protocols, including RFC 86, 34, 31, and 41, can be utilized. And these documents provide us the young data model for the PM streamings based on the IETF JITA 7710 and demonstrating how to subscribe the young data model using the IETF push model. The figure shows the basic structure of PM streamings. It consists of the multiple client, including operation system, network digital twin, AI applications, and the network element. These is the client can subscribe to the metrics and the network element, and the network element is give a streaming to the corresponding the client. JITA 7710 classify the PM parameters to be the maintenance and the QoS monitoring purposes. The maintenance parameter is by unidirectionals to identify the physical layer issue and the equipment malfunction, etc. The QoS parameter is bidirectional and to ensure the QoS, such as latency, packet delay variation. JITA 7710 also classified the PM parameters with a time interval. It has two types of time interval, 15 minutes, 24 hours. The short-term interval of the 15 minutes used to analyze the short-term issues like a spike in the latency, and the 24-hour interval is used long-term, identified long-term issue like overall network health. And so considering those classification aspect, and the JITA 7710 defined 3 groups of PM parameter. Maintenance with the 15 minutes, maintenance with the 24 hours, and QoS with the 24 hours.
Sorry, my fault. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Try again, please.
Okay. And so also JITA 7710 defined 2 measurement methods, actually 3, because the gauge measurement has 2 types of sub-measurement method defined. And count measurement is used to measure the total number of events over the period, and the gauge measurement measure the state of the network at the specific moment. And it has 2 types of the gauge measurement are defined. Snapshots that measured gauge value at the uniform time. You can see the figure, right figure. You can see top figure, and you can see the exasecond. Every exasecond in the interval, and measure the metrics, and to see the overview of the networks. And so transition measurement traced a highest and the lowest value. And also the count measurement is the triggered transition and the standing threshold events. And the gauge measurement is triggered overflow and underflow threshold events while the measuring this gauge value. Okay, and JITA 7710 typically is defined 2 types of reportings: periodic PM reporting and the threshold event reportings. And the threshold event reportings, they have 2 different type of threshold event. One is the periodic threshold event. The other one is that non-periodic threshold event. Periodic threshold event comes from the mentioned earlier before slide, comes from the measuring the periodic measurement of a count, snapshot, tide mark. A non-periodic threshold event comes from the BUT, UT, CS. Okay, comparison. GDA 7710 defined the PM functional requirement, and my proposers defined young data model, and these two documents support the commander feature set written in the table, and then GDA 7710 just defined the 16 register storing the PM data, not specified the reporting method such as the polling and the streaming. These tools, the mechanism can be possible. Okay, my proposals mainly focus on the young data model and how to subscribe and subscribe the metrics and for the PM streaming. And the GDA 7710 also have mainly focus on the single speed up. Yeah, okay. And okay, go. And this is the young data model for the periodic PM streaming. Each is the parameters have three containers for the three measurement method. Each measurement method has their own metric nodes. Let's go. These slides show the structure of the young trees to support the periodic threshold event. And it has three measurement method. Each measurement have their own threshold events. Okay, and this is for the non-periodic threshold event. Okay, this XML files shows how clients subscribe the metrics of the severe data second, for example, and with the following condition. And so this subscription is for the maintenance for the link X, for example, and putting conditions, 15 minutes, target PM parameter as yes, metric value, count unit, and the starting time and end time. And this XML file and showed how to subscribe the BUT event and okay, including metric value. And the future work, GDA 7710 is being revised in IETF as the 15th target dates in April 2025. And so this document should be aligned to the revision of the document. And the main issue in the GDA in the IETF study 15 is to change the interval times from currently in the fixed time interval to the variable time interval. And also they try to support the streaming functional requirement. Okay, and also PM parameter should be added and also include also the update to the young data model. Okay, we had the side meetings on last Monday, and 9 people attend the meeting, including Italo. And so key outcome is that separate current document into two. First one, the technology agnostic. Second is technology specific. And first one is to make a framework of PM streaming with the young data model, employ the XPath filter to identify parameter, and while ensuring the technology agnostic, and then submitted the ops working group. And the second one is define the PM parameter after classifying the classifying the PM parameter such as OTN and PRSTP, something like that, and then submit the CCAMP. That's all I have. Thank you. This is the initial version of the document, and I think there are a lot of works I have to do, and so please, looking forward your
Hai-Bin.
Yeah.
Okay. In the side meeting, as I think we agree that the data model defined in your job is also applicable on the northbound of the controller. So if you would like to separate the job into two documents, for the first document submitted to the ops area, I would like you to add this point to your document. Okay.
Okay.
And also, I also noticed that for your next step, you would like to change the interval from the fixed interval to variable interval. I would like you. I would suggest you to give some range for this interval. For example, if this data model is adopted on the northbound or never element, as what we discussed in the side meeting, there will be some risks on the DCI bandwidth if the interval is too small. For example, you report the data in microseconds, the bandwidth cannot carry so many notification to the app system. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good comment. Is that I'm considering your comment to define the catalog, classifying the PM parameter. It's a bit, I think there is required a lot of discussion to classify them. Okay, thank you.
So one question from my side, Vin. I was, now this last slide is clear because my first question was for commenting what would be specific for CCAMP, but now it's clear that you want to split the work, something generic and so. But for the work in CCAMP, your idea would be to have in just one single document all the parameters for the different technologies or separated documents. I mean, you mentioned there OTN, PLSTP, but we have microwave, we have.
I haven't decided, and just we're gonna discuss this issue.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I had the same question for 12 slides, and then you resolved it, and at the 13th. But yeah, probably. I mean, Luis' suggestion is good because I know maybe someone is just interested in one part and not the other, but probably the comment is it depends also on the amount of data that you have.
Yes,
I mean, if it's 3 lines per technology, keep them together. If it makes sense to split them.
Hai-Bin, thanks for the work. 2 comments. One is for during the side meeting discussion, right? We basically pointed out that in the model there are a couple of duplicated structure like for 15 minutes or for 24 hours, and also probably in other places. So the recommendation is to create a generic structure to accommodate both, right?
Yes.
The second point is about the split of the technology agnostic and technology specific models, because like, yeah, I mean, I understand, like in our discussion we said there's a common part that can be submitted to ops area, but after some offline discussion I was thinking, if today, like, we have only use cases geared towards CCAMP, right, for optical networks. I wonder whether it makes good sense to go through the workload and have it defined in offset area, rather than creating two modules for optical for within CCAMP, but for optical use cases. If we don't have use case in IP domain, then probably not worth to have it in ops area.
Okay, so your comment is that first we focus on the parameter and the scope of the CCAMP, and then
right,
the
Right.
extent of depending on the condition. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can still define
Okay.
separate modules, right, if needed, because we still share a common module for OTN, for optical, or for other technologies within CCAMP. So it's worth to consider that. But going to ops area to cover other domains like IPs, if there's a use case, we can definitely do that. If not, I'm thinking to have it maybe in CCAMP is the best option.
Okay, and so actually it's the GDA7710s that could provide the common performance parameter opposed the OTN, MPLS TP, carrier Ethernet. Okay, and those kind of parameters, but especially packet performance parameter, are defined in the other document. For example, G.AD51, 8151. And so anyway, we can discuss how to catalog, classify the PM parameter.
Okay.
Roberto Cisco. Thank you for the work. It's very interesting. And my comment was similar to the one of Iowa. So in my opinion, it would be interesting to harmonize the streaming of PM data across the different technology that we have in CCAMP. So I saw you are focusing more on counters right now, so packets and counters, but it could be interesting also to extend it to the optical analog performance data some way and have a common framework for the PM. So we can, in my opinion, we may work on that.
Okay, thank you.
You cannot have a side meeting without Italo. So this was a successful one because Italo was there.
Thank you. Yes, seconding a bit what Iowa and Roberto was saying, I think I agree that we need a technology agnostic document, at least to harmonize the performance monitoring for the optical domain, which is a multi-layer. So we have OTN, WDM, Ethernet, and MPLS-TP. I'm still a little bit struggling about getting a little bit broader than optical, because the experience I'm having in this meeting is we spend a lot of efforts to make it applicable beyond optical, and at the end of the day, is not going to be endorsed outside of the optical networks. So
well, not in all cases. We started inventory for optical, and you see
yeah,
how
inventory,
it ended up.
yes, seems to be the exception. But yeah, that's why I'm a little bit struggling. I don't have an answer. It's a question. I think it's a good idea to extend, but not too much. I mean, if there is no endorsement outside of the optical domain, maybe it's not worthwhile going beyond the optical domain.
It's always worth a check. Non-answer is an answer.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
okay.
We can ask and see.
Thank you.
Yes, on the technology X. This is Wu from Huawei. And my comment is to the technology agnostic. And I think there is some overlap with the existing ops working group, also working on the performance monitoring, which is applicable to the IP network and also VPN services. They are together. And I think the draft name I will send to the chat window, which is about VPN network performance monitoring.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yes.
But that's specific for VPNs. Here, if I correctly understood,
No,
it's a bit
actually it's to the whole IP network, because they have some support some for performance monitoring per link and for interfaces. That is not specific to VPN services. Okay, and for the young modeling that you showed in your slides, I feel like there's too many repeating definitions.
Yeah. I understand.
Efficient. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
He admitted we are at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes, to be sure, from my side at least, being these operational matters, it's worth it to socialize at least with OPSO.
Thank you.
Okay. let's go for the last presentations. Xin.
Okay. This is Xin from CICT, and it's very honored to be here to present my draft on AI-based network management agent. And actually, this draft is for NMOP group. I want to show it here because I want to discuss if there are any related works to be done in CCAMP. So this is the first time I present this draft, so I'm gonna go in a little bit more detail. So the first is the background. The background is introducing AI into network management has reached a consensus, but there are many key challenges need to be settled. As you can see, the application architecture of AI in network management is not clear, and in what form AI can help network management. And if there are new interface requirements after AI is introduced are not clear too. So that's why we propose this draft. There are already some related works like autonomic networking or intent-based networking. And the most related one should be ANIMA, which defines ANIMA architecture based on MAP functions. But we have some source on those works. If we treat machine learning or AI model as brain, maybe we need the body to do the actions. So we think that instead of multiple small function modules, maybe we need a whole entity that can provide a closed loop intelligent management. And it's it's best to be consistent with the current SDN controller architecture for the easy evolution in the future. So that's why we propose this draft, because we think agent might be one of the most feasible application form of AI in network. And the goal of this draft is trying to give a standardized common architecture for the use of AI network, which is in the form of network management agent. We can call it NMA for short. And this draft is trying to provide the framework of NMA and clarify the relationship of NMA with existing systems and define some requirements of agent for different scenarios, and also give some definitions of the related interfaces. So here is the definition of an NMA, and here I need your feedbacks. The NMA refers to a network management entity with autonomous task processing capabilities and has task intent, perception, planning, decision-making, and execution capabilities. And here is, the format is a mess.
No worries,
Yeah.
we can listen.
Okay, so here is an open issue about the common framework of introducing NMA. We give two options. The option A is the independent mode, and option B is integrated mode. In the option A, NMA is independent from original network MCS, and a new east-to-west interface will be added between MCS and NMA. And NMA will need a new intelligent SPI interface to interact to the physical network. And in the option B, NMA is integrated with MCS and will serve as a function of MCS. So, but in both modes, there will be an intent-based northbound ABI. We can call it IB, NBI, between the NMA with upper applications or systems. So option A or B, we need your feedbacks or any advices. And by referring to the common AI agent framework, we also propose the reference function architecture of an NMA. As you can see on the right side, the architecture includes two parts, the base layer and the instance layer. And the base layer is for providing some AI-based basic services like intent management, task planning, task execution, or tool invocation. And the instance layer can have some NMA instances and the instance management function. So we are also calling for your feedbacks on the whole architecture of NMA. And here also we gave the definition of an NMA instance. So it refers to the instantiated agent application, which can automatically perform certain network management tasks for specific scenarios. So for different scenarios, there may be multiple NMA instances, just like apps in the phone. So that's our final goal. So here also give some detailed definition of the base layer and the instance layer. You can have a check if needed after the meeting. And
is Swami in the queue?
oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, Swami from Nokia. So if you can go 2 slides back.
This slide?
No, one before.
This?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in this, I can understand that the instance and the base layer is part of the whole closed loop function.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And it somehow seems to indicate that there is a direct access to the physical network. So in this view, is your understanding that somehow the interaction with the network bypasses the controller?
Oh, let's go back to this. Let's go back to, sorry. Maybe go back to here. And we can see that if in the independent mode, then NMA will interact with the physical network directly. And if we adopt the integrity mode, then it will be the MCS to interact with physical network. So it depends on what mode you adopt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then a kind of a follow-up question on both the options, right?
Yeah.
So in this view, is the expectation that the models for the network, right, which is very, very technology specific,
Yeah.
would somehow need to be evolved, taking into account the requirements of this optimization? Or is it something that you foresee that the models remain the same and is driven mainly by technology use cases, and whatever is the additional functionality in the NMA, right? So that to me is a kind of a fundamental question, right? And I don't know if that's the ask.
So do you mean that the requirements or the architecture of this framework is technical independent, or will go into the technical details?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And the goal of this draft for now will be focused on the common requirements, common architecture of technical independent. So in the next we will try to work on the technical specific framework, functional requirements, or definition of interfaces for different networks, like in CCAMP, to define some optical, define some functional requirements of the transport network NMA.
Okay, so one more follow-up question based
Yeah,
on your answer,
yeah.
right? So
Please.
is your goal then you would kind of evolve option A, option B independently, like these are the two options, and each can derive some requirements out of it, or you imagine that you would choose one or the other and then that's the path that you're going in, or it's too early to?
Okay.
I don't know.
We want to reach a consensus of choosing only one option.
Okay.
So that's better for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Daniel King. So just to follow up on Swami's question there, and I think I heard that one deployment scenario is to actually sort of bypass the controller and talk to the network directly to extract information and potentially execute change. But then that opens up the whole kind of CAP theorem problem of data consistency and availability and sort of partition tolerance. So in a large network, that really is going to be a major issue. But my question really is this only applicable to the optical transport domain? Because it seems that there are a variety of technologies that this might apply to. So maybe just kind of focusing on one specific area of technology might not be the best approach initially. And you're going to hear that consistently, actually, that this is a framework on interfaces that will apply across layers. So that's my first question.
Okay. So I'm not sure if I got your ideas clearly. So do you mean that if it's possible to define some framework for optical transport network?
So
Or-
why are you here? So this is CCAMP.
Yes.
Does this only apply to microwave and optical technology?
Yes. Why I'm here because I want to present the concept of the NMA, and if everybody are happy with this concept, then we can have a look at if we can define the requirements of NMA for transport network, and if we can define the specific interface definitions for transport network NMA. So that's my goal. So I want to introduce the AI-related works to CCAMP group, and maybe many operators have the requirements for introducing AI into transport network.
Let me help you here a little bit. So this is an NMOP draft that is presented also here. I scanned through the slides, and after she says, is there work for CCAMP to be done?
Oh, so
Yeah.
I was too quick.
You
Should've
spoiled
waited.
the ending of the presentation.
Yes.
Very sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, Liz Chowder, I also want to clarify the question from Dan King. Actually, I'm also the co-author of this draft, and I invite Joshing to present this draft in
Yes.
CCAMP. And currently, I'm also working in another draft, which is about the service automation. And I consider that it's a ADN use case draft, and I would like to define some article specific ADN L4 use cases in transport in our CCAMP. And I just want to find just like a trigger of the discussion of the ADN in our CCAMP, because I consider there's not too many discussion in our working group. So it just is a trigger. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. So I will continue on my slides. And here is another issue about open issue about the architecture of an NMA. We also give two options that I am not very clear now. So the option A is we treat AI capability as the internal base layer of an NMA, and we will have multiple NMA instances for various scenarios. And the option B is we treat AI capability as the external service of NMA, and we'll have individual NMAs for each scenario. So I don't know which one is better for you. And we currently prefer the first approach because in this option, we can extend the NMA instances just by adding some plugins rather than deploying new NMAs one by one for each scenario. So that is another open issue. And we also try to give a common workflow of NMA, which include the task input intent analysis, task decomposition, tool or API invocation, process encapsulation, and executive result analysis. And the final goal is to achieve a closed loop automated processing of tasks. And last, we provide some typical scenarios by introducing NMA, like network management and maintenance scenarios, network operation scenarios, and based on the considerations of strong demand, sufficient data for AI pre-training, and other factors that we think that maybe the broadband installation and the maintenance assistant and the other scenarios, other operation and maintenance scenarios may be the first possible mature application scenarios. And the final page, what can be done in CCAMP. And that's the purpose of why I am presenting this draft here, because I want to discuss if there are any operation capabilities need to be provided by intent-based NBI after NMA is introduced. And maybe we can define the intent-based NBI young model in CCAMP. And we can discuss the functional requirements of NMA for transport network, and also the requirements of the interfaces for transport network. And that is exactly my purpose here. And in the next, we will continue to call for feedbacks on the open issues and try to clarify the architecture, the functional requirements of NMA, and requirements for each interface. And I think that's all. And thanks very much for listening.
Dan, you are still in the queue, or? Okay.
Yes, trying to understand what CCAMP can do here. I have a couple of questions. Are you thinking, where are you thinking this NMI or is IBMBI is applicable? Is applicable on the top of an optical controller, or is it applicable on the top on a controller which is controlling at the higher level is seeing a multi-layer network with packet and optical at the same time?
I think it's between the NO. Also, this depends on the framework of an NMA. If it's independent from MCS, then the intent-based NBI refers to the interface between NMA and the upper applications or systems. If we adopt the integrity mode, then this interface refers to the interface between the controller and the upper controller or upper applications.
So, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
The underlying network is a pure optical network or is a multi-layer network?
Excuse me, multi-layer?
Is a layer, for example, are these network that you are controlling, either under an MDA or under an integrated, only an optical network domain, and there is somebody on top of you that is doing the integration between packet and optical, or is something which is above the optical controller and seeing both optical and packet networks at the same time? So there is a coexistence on the same MBI of transport and non-transport extensions.
Maybe it's just for a single network for this stage, for the first stage.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Haowei, if you can come back to page 10 on the two mode. Yeah, I see this very interesting.
This one?
It's A or B.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So from a software realization perspective, so we are educated to have a few principles. The first is trying to inherit as much as possible, do the smooth evolution rather than revolution. So that is the option A.
Yes.
But on the meantime, we are also educated the software should be modularized. That means one functionality should be independently separated with other functionalities, and that is what exactly shown as option B.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether it is a right question to ask, or we can really reach consensus on choosing only one of that and exclude the other options. Even though we reach consensus in IETF, there may be other kind of implementations because new features are consecutively emerging in the future. So that's the first point I would make. This may not be a right question. We may need to take care of the both modes together. And secondly, regarding the single technology or multi-technology work, that also help answer this question a bit. For example, when you talk about network planning, okay, so for some functionalities like network planning, the IP network planning and optical network planning are very different with each other.
Yes.
Yeah, but for some kind of like a fault management or diagnosis, so they have a lot of similar capability in common. So instead of asking whether the underlying network is single technology or multi-technology, I would rather say, is the network capability better to be designed in a single technology way or a multi-technology way? So but I believe the NMA is very useful to firstly achieve overall consensus on the applicability on multiple technology network.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. About the first question, I can't respond to you for now. We need to maybe discuss more.
Yeah, it's just a start
open
of the
open
work,
discussion.
and we just try to focus on the right question.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Can we go back to the last slide of like how we can help you?
Okay.
With the work.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. So work to be done in CCAMP. Discuss the operational capabilities that need to be provided between the intent base and the Northbound interface. So do you have an intent-based interface that you want to use, and essentially it's mapping the intent language, like the declarative function, into imperative, sort of a policy, and using some AI to do that?
Actually, no intent for now, but we are working on this. Maybe in next year we'll have some contents for the intent-based MBI, and what we'll try to work on the requirements firstly, and then the definitions.
Because that sort of top-down approach would be really useful. Generally, we are interested in the bits and bytes, or photons in this case, whereas we kind of build networks from the bottom up. But knowing how you might use this and what that intent interface looks like could be quite useful. But beware. There's been a lot of discussion in this sort of space previously. We seem to struggle sometimes with agreeing some of the language and the behavior, but I think it may be worth another go. But have a look at some of the work that's been done in NMRG. So there's already an intent-based interface approach for network digital twins, because although you had one little box that talked about NDT, there is overlap here as well. And maybe do some work on investigating of how you would map your sort of declarative high-level network objective and the tools that we already have available, because we're eager to use a lot of the Yang that has already been created or is in the process of being created. So you can very clearly articulate what's actually missing, because a framework is fine, it's great, but it's not what people implement, right? Like in terms of code, it's just sort of a guide. And some of those interfaces that you've got as lines will be internal, some will be external, and we're really interested in the external. So that's the interoperability.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Swami again. I have two comments, right? So it's kind of following up on Italo's and Homin's comment on the multi-layer part, right? I don't know if the work that you propose here is going to complement the TM Forum's autonomous network framework, or you're going to change it. Right now, if you see what is proposed in the autonomous networks framework from TM Forum, is essentially that says that any kind of automation level improvements and getting to, from level 0 to level 5 is actually within the controller, right? So you can achieve automation at multiple network controller levels, right? So you can do something in the optical layer, like this is the reference for the CCAMP, but then you can do the same in access, the same in IP, and same in microwave, and so on. And then it talks about the service and business layers, which are somehow independent of the network layers, right? So what it says is that you don't try to automate everything, right? So you look at those aspects, and what it also proposes is that when you are doing this, when you have functions that go from one domain to the other, uh, you would use the controller interfaces themselves, right? So in the sense that if there is an existing northbound interface from a controller to an orchestrator or a service management application, your automation scenarios essentially reuse them, right? So that's what it's proposing. So maybe deciding whether your work would fit in the autonomous networks framework. So hence you have a boundary, right? So you don't have anything that goes across. Could be an answer to some of the questions. Or you could also decide that no, we want to go across, right? And say, we in IETF are going to go with a different approach, and hence we are solving it differently. Even that's good. But I think defining what is in scope and what is not in scope, and whether we want to be complementary to what TM Forum is proposing, so then it's useful for the industry, and no, we want to do something more than that, is useful. And to me, right before we go into each of the working groups, to kind of define high level goals, requirements, what we want to achieve would be useful. That's my view.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I think this draft can provide a means to achieve autonomous networks. It's not the only ways, but we provide a way that people can choose if this is the right way to achieve autonomous network. And thank you for your advice. We'll check the scope of each group and try to get our contents better. Thank you.
One question from my side. In the last point, very last point, you mentioned about the interfaces, this idea of checking if YANG is valid or not.
Yeah.
YANG, I mean, we will have different YANG models across different working groups. So do you foresee that maybe for some technologies will be valid, for some others not? Or, I mean, probably the ideal would be to have just a common approach.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Okay.
And I guess that probably reusing YANG will be the most appropriate, right?
Yeah.
So not sure you have done some analysis in other working groups about the validity of the YANG models, or not yet? This is not yet analyzed, right?
No, not yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank
you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. As usual, we managed to reach the end of the session.
Yes. Listen to you in the interim.
So just a reminder that we will have the interim meetings, one before IETF 122, one after, and we will not be meeting at IETF 122. So instead of seeing you in Bangkok, I see you online.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I